In the earlier part, we went through the concept of the Pitrus, the primordial beings, and tried to understand the symbolism behind these narratives. But apart from these primordial beings, Pitrus also refers to the deceased, the dead ancestors of the living. It more commonly refers to three generations of ancestors of a person: the parents, grandparents, and great grandparents. According to many ancient texts, at the time of death, it is the physical body, the Sthula Sharira, that dies. The subtle body continues in its journey towards rebirth, and in this journey, it moves across various realms of existence, and one of its stops is in the Pitruloka, the abode of the ancestors. The ancient texts state that the souls stay here for some time and then move onwards towards rebirth. Some Hindus still perform a ritual for their ancestors every month during the day of Amavasya, the new moon. This procedure is called Tarpana or Tarpanam. Many ancient cultures dedicated a day to venerate and acknowledge their ancestors. This was common practice across many faiths in the ancient world. Most modern day scholars dismiss these practices as ancestor worship. But in reality, is this procedure, is this Tarpana ancestor worship? And philosophically, if we do believe in the cycle of birth and death and rebirth, why even do this procedure? Let us try to understand what the word Tarpanam means. Tarpana is an offering to the ancestors. The root of Tarpanam is Trup, which means to satisfy. Tripti means satisfaction and contentment. The souls that journey to the Pitruloka are those whose material desires have not been quenched yet. These desires bind them again to the cycle of birth and death. So the aim of the procedure is to satisfy them and move them onwards towards liberation. This is to help them and us understand the true nature of the self. Let us look at the actual procedure before we talk about the symbolisms, the meanings, and the effects. The procedure is typically done with an offering of rice grains, sesame, and water. The seeds are mixed in the water, and we think of each of our deceased ancestors, state their name, and pour out the water as an offering. Once the procedure is done, the water with the seeds is typically poured onto a stream or a river or into the soil at the base of trees or plants. And there are several variations of these procedures, from the simple to the elaborate. So, do these offerings actually reach the Pitrus who are in the state of the subtle body cloaked by the Ahamkara, the ego? To answer this, we need to consider two other aspects of this Tarpana, which have unfortunately taken a backseat: charity and meditative contemplation. Dhanam, charity, is an important aspect of this procedure. The performer, as per his or her abilities, gives food and clothes to the needy. The essence of dharmic philosophy is that all that exists is a part of the Supreme Absolute. Feeding any part, helping any aspect of this infinite Absolute, serves to satisfy the entirety of the Supreme Absolute. Dhana, helping others, is an integral part of Dharma. Even the Garuda Purana states that Dhanena Sulabha Yamamarga, which means generosity makes the path to the abode of Yama easy. Another answer to this question is this: some scriptures talk about how these offerings actually physically interact with the universe. These offerings of water and seeds become plants or food for the aquatic animals that can cause ripple effects. The Upanishads, for instance, talk about how these simple actions can reverberate across various realms of the universe. This is similar to the butterfly effect, where a small change can result in large differences. The Chandogya Upanishad clearly calls this out, albeit in a different scenario, that of how a life is born into the universe. The other part of this Tarpana procedure that is usually missed is the meditative and contemplative aspect. The meditative part of the procedure is to contemplate on the true nature of reality and ensure that us and the ancestors move towards this goal. This is the most important part of Tarpana, and the ritual reinforces these symbolisms. The Tarpana is actually for the performer to take some time and understand that everything that exists is part of the Supreme Absolute and that the Self, the Atman, is also a spark of the Supreme Absolute. This is the knowledge that has to be radiated. This meditative contemplation is to realize that an attachment to the material world keeps them and us in the cycle of birth and death. This is done to reinforce the fact that we are all part of the infinite consciousness on a journey to gain experiences and move towards liberation. By the way, the world experience is not looked down upon here. It's not a pessimistic doctrine. The soul on a journey has to quench whatever desires it has righteously in accordance with Dharma and then move onwards towards liberation. If you see, all this is a dance of delight of the infinite consciousness that ebbs and flows across various realms, trying to gain infinite experiences. The Tarpana procedure also has other deep symbolisms that not many go into. Typically, the day of veneration of the ancestors is the new moon day. Why is the Tarpana performed on a new moon day? And here too, there are multiple symbolisms at multiple levels. Hindu narratives have this concept of time dilation, where time is different in different realms of existence. The Brahmanda Purana states, a night and a day of the Pitrus make a human month. The dark fortnight, the waning moon, the Krishna Paksha, is the day of the Pitruloka, and the bright fortnight, the waxing moon, Shukla Paksha, is their night. But there is another deeper symbolism, a metaphysical symbolism. The sun symbolizes the infinite consciousness and the moon symbolizes the self, the Atman. The self, which is cloaked in manas, the mind, buddhi, the intellect, ahamkara, the ego, and with all these falls under the maya that it is separate from the Supreme Absolute. The moon is just a symbolism of the reflection of this infinite consciousness. The Tarpana is performed when we see the moon without the illusion of sunlight, and the souls of the deceased are supposedly fully illuminated by the source. So the aim again is to guide us and them towards realizing our true nature. There is also a deep significance of the sesame seeds used in this procedure. Sesame was one of the earliest known crop oils. It is also one of the major crops used in ancient civilizations, and the sesame seed was domesticated almost 5,500 years ago in the Indian subcontinent. Sesame seeds, like multiple other seeds, are covered by a sheath that bursts open when the seeds are completely ripe. This phenomenon is dehiscence. The seeds contain the potential to bloom and grow into a plant, into another life. On the other side, the essence of the sesame seeds and any other seeds is the oil. The oil that implies that the inner essence is universal, the self identified as part of the Supreme Absolute. And this is also one of the reasons why oil was used to anoint someone across many ancient cultures. The act of anointing by oil symbolizes the fact that they have the realization that they are part of the Supreme Absolute. This is all fine, but why do we do this procedure? What is the need to understand, venerate, remember, or even consider our ancestors in our daily life? From a scientific standpoint, we have now realized that not just physical and mental characteristics, but even traumatic events suffered by the ancestors can be passed down to the current generation. Modern science corroborates this. So the effects of trauma could be passed on to successive generations. These might also serve to dictate the vasanas and the samskaras, the tendencies and the latent desires which transform into actions. The current condition is a result of actions performed and experiences gained over many cycles of birth and death. This is not pessimistic or a reason for inaction or indifference. You still control your karma. The path to liberation lies within. Guiding the ancestors towards the true knowledge of reality is part of the regulatory mechanism that moves one towards liberation. In summary, the importance of Tarpana is not to worship the ancestors so that they can give us material wealth. The Tarpana is an exhortation for them to satisfy themselves, quench their desires, let go of these attachments, and guide us in the same process. This is a thought process that, when done, guides us, them, and all aspects of the infinite absolute towards liberation. As always, the known is a drop and the unknown an ocean. Peace.